the crew.
In this tournament, there's only going to be one person who walks away at the end of the day with a smile on their face. Everyone else goes home unhappy.
It's probably been a while since you thought about these guys, right? During the poker boom, these were the young bucks, the up-and-comers, the best and the brightest of the new poker world. But just as quickly as they burst onto the scene, they imploded in a blaze of glory. So what happened to these guys, and what can we learn from their story?
Oh, the World Series of Poker.
We'll get into all of it, but before we do, thank you for checking out Poker Boom. If there's a story you want us to cover, let us know in the comments and we'll do our best to make it happen. Alright, here we go. In the mid-2000s, as poker's popularity exploded in the wake of Chris Moneymaker's 2003 World Series of Poker main event win, a new generation of brash, internet-savvy players emerged from the shadows and into the bright lights of ESPN broadcasts. The most captivating of these upstarts was a group known as The Crew, comprised of talent like Scott Fishman, Dutch Boyd, Brett Youngblood, and Joe Bartholdi. The Crew represented something the poker world had never quite seen before, a tightly bonded fraternity of young pros living and working together, feeding off each other's energy and ideas, and shaking up the establishment with their unconventional styles and mindsets. At its peak, The Crew wasn't just a team, it was a movement. But like many intense, short-lived combustions, their rise came with an equally dramatic fall. Their story begins with Dutch Boyd, who we've covered before. Dutch was a highly intelligent and polarizing figure who'd already been on a roller coaster before his poker fame. He was a child prodigy who earned a law degree at just 18, but struggled with his mental health. By the early 2000s, he'd immersed himself in online poker and became one of the earliest vocal proponents of internet-based poker education. Boyd's dream was to form a poker collective that would take on the live tournament scene in Las Vegas. A crew of killers who'd share strategies, they'd share bankrolls and dreams. The concept was inspired by startups and hacker collectives, groups of passionate people sharing resources to take down bigger, more established entities. In poker, this translated into watching each other's hands, providing real-time coaching, sharing reads and tendencies of opponents, and building psychological support in an isolating game. Boyd recruited like-minded grinders, including Brett Youngblood, a math-oriented player with a calm demeanor, Joe Bartholdi, a raw talent with street smarts and a hot temper, and most notably, Scott Fishman, who would become the breakout star. Now, there were other members of the crew as well, but these are the ones that we're going to be focusing on in this video. They all moved into a house together in Las Vegas, and they trained like athletes, poring over hand histories, breaking down opponents, and entering tournaments with confidence. Scott Fishman, at just 23 years old, became the youngest player to win 2 bracelets in a single World Series of Poker, when he won both the $1,500 no-limit hold'em event and the $2,000 no-limit hold'em events in 2004. His back-to-back wins turned heads and catapulted the crew into poker stardom. That same year, Dutch Boyd took down the $2,500 short-handed no-limit hold'em event for his own bracelet. Cementing the crew as more than just hype. Meanwhile, Brett Youngblood quietly captured the $1,500 7-card stud high-low event. Within a single summer, 3 members had won WSOP titles. Their shared victory celebrations, wild house parties, and brash interviews made them media darlings.
I was in the joint on
Are
Wednesday.
you seriously?
Serious.
No kidding, you'll be all right.
I was
he was in the joint on Wednesday. I was kidding. I was kidding. Are you serious? All right.
am.
Wow.
Anyway,
They represented the dream of every young online player watching from home, proof that the old guard could be taken down by a united front of young guns. But they weren't just winning, they were changing the image of poker. No cigars, no cowboy hats, just hoodies, headphones, and confidence. But the pressure of success, internal egos, and external scrutiny soon began to wear on the group. For all their talent, the crew was not built to last. And Dutch Boyd, despite his early vision, struggled with controversy. His previous involvement in a failed poker site called PokerSpot left many in the poker community skeptical. There were financial disputes, accusations of mismanagement, and players who claimed they never received funds from their PokerSpot accounts. Though Boyd was never criminally charged, his reputation never fully recovered, and many considered him to be a liability to the group's image. But it's Joe Bartholdi's story that is perhaps the most emblematic of the crew's volatility. Known for his temper, Bartholdi had a falling out with Boyd and eventually left the group. But in a twist of fate, he he would go on to win the 2006 WPT Championship and over $3.7 million. He later admitted to blowing through most of the money, facing substance abuse issues, and struggling with the psychological demands of poker. Fishman, meanwhile, attempted to leverage his success into brand deals and book writing, releasing Online Ace in 2008. But he couldn't maintain the same level of tournament dominance he had back in 2004. Over time, he faded from the spotlight, dabbling in coaching and online poker, but never quite living up to his initial billing as the game's next superstar. Brett Youngblood, the quietest and most academic of the bunch, stepped back from high-stakes tournaments and turned to teaching and coaching. He became affiliated with the now defunct Poker X Factor training site, finding a more stable, if less flashy, career in the game. What ultimately caused the downfall of the crew wasn't scandal, it was ego, clashing personalities, and the realization that poker, despite its romantic allure of friendship and loyalty, is an inherently solitary pursuit. Success created expectations. Expectations created tension. And poker's mental toll also played a role. The group, though bonded, lacked the emotional infrastructure to navigate the unique pressures of fame, of finances, and of mental health. There was no roadmap for how to go from broke grinders to public figures with six-figure bankrolls and TV exposure. The very thing that made the crew special, its closeness, was what made its implosion inevitable. When one member stumbled, it affected the whole group. And in poker, there's often no safety net. By the late 2000s, the crew was no more. The players moved on, the poker world ever evolving, shift toward a more data-driven, more solver-based approach. The crew in many ways became a relic of the pre-solver boom, an analog brotherhood in a rapidly digitizing game. So where are the guys now? Well, Scott Fishman still plays sporadically and dabbles in coaching. His online presence is quiet and he hasn't cashed in a major tournament in years. He lives a more private life now, far from the ESPN stage. Dutch Boyd wrote a memoir called Poker Tilt in 2014, a brutally honest account of his highs and lows. He still plays, mostly in smaller events, and maintains a modest presence in the community. Joe Bartholdi has occasionally resurfaced in interviews and podcasts. He's spoken about recovery, financial hardship, and the harsh lessons of fast fame. And Brent Youngblood found his niche in coaching and maintains a passion for the game, but from the sidelines. Despite its brief rise and fall, the crew's impact on poker was real. They were the first poker collective to brand themselves as a team, something now seen constantly in content houses. Their belief in shared learning and mutual support and pooling resources laid the groundwork for modern poker training sites and forums like 2plus2. They also helped to demystify the path to poker success. You didn't need to grow up in card rooms or be mentored by a Vegas shark. You could be young, broke, and bold and still win. At the end of the day, the crew was both a dream and a warning. A dream of what poker could be at its most idealistic, and a warning about the personal costs of chasing greatness without a safety net. The game moved on, solvers came, Twitch exploded, but the story of the crew remains. But not for how it ended, but for what it dared to be.
You're a sick human, dude. Dude, we're on camera here, man. Are you crazy?
Certifiably.
All right, get out of here, man. Like, get out, man. Get out, man. No sickos, man.
And that's it for this one. Thanks for watching another episode of Poker Boom. We release new videos every single week, and we're happy you decided to check out this one. Make sure to come back next Monday for a brand new episode. We'll see you in the next one.